let's talk about the books I read in June. First off, on today's list of books that I read in June is New Spring by Robert Jordan. I do not have that book with me personally right now. I do have the next book I read after that and some other books, but I do not have New Spring with me. Excuse my dog. It's just my baby 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 dog. Hello, Kylo. You're in my shot. I love yours. I love you and your pretty little face. And your blue eye. He has one blue eye. And let me just tell you, that book is an absolute delight. My biggest recommendation is to not actually read book 0 before you get into it. New Spring is a prequel, so you could read it first. It's book 0. But what I did was I read it in between book 5 and book 6 of The Wheel of Time. And so Fires of Heaven and Lord of Chaos, right smack dab in the middle. And I absolutely loved that placement. That placement was suggested by YouTuber Daniel Green, and just he's amazing for all your fantasy type news, for all your fantasy questions. Go to his channel because he's amazing. I've been watching him for years and I love him and his content. It's so good. Let me tell you, New Spring was amazing. But it's the story of Moraine and Lan and how they meet and how Lan becomes Moraine's warder. And it is so much fun. Moraine is young and so is Suwan, and they just have a beautiful friendship, and it's a wonderful story of adventure and curiosity and on the brink of chaos on this quest to find the Dragon Reborn. I laughed so much in that book. That is the most I've laughed in a Robert Jordan novel ever, is in that short little book. That book was probably around like 300 something pages, which normally his books are big. They're like 900 pages to 1,000 pages usually. New Spring is short. I got through it in a day. It was so lovely and such a lovely story. I love the way Robert Jordan writes. His books, I have said it before and I will say it again, are my comfort books. I'm not even finished with this series yet, but I love them. When I'm in the world of Wheel of Time, I feel at home and I feel cozy. It's my cozy fantasy read that I read on a rainy day, and I read anytime actually, but you know, it gives me like rainy day, cozy vibes, cup of tea. We love being immersed into this whole world. New Spring was a great jump back into this series after a little break. And then this book, I love this book so much. I don't like Perrin, but in this book, Perrin redeems himself. For me, at least. I loved Perrin in this book, which was amazing. And just everything that's going on. I can't talk a lot about it because this is the 6th book in a series, so I can't give away spoilers. But it was great. Perrin redeemed himself for me. The entire plot, I feel like things are actually becoming its own story now. Things are not just building. People are set. It's not a lot of world building anymore. There is still some things that you're learning, but you're understanding now. You are in this world. You know the magic system mostly now, and people are set up. And so when you come into the 6th book, it feels exciting because it is building towards something that is going to be great. This is one of my favorite books of the Wheel of Time series so far. It literally, this book made my jaw drop to the floor. several times, and it made me so excited about what people are learning and just the things that they can do within the magic system, and just you're finally glimpsing the power fully, and that's so exciting to me, and I can't wait for the next one. I can, but I can't. This was a 4.5 read for me. Next book that I read is Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. That one took me forever to read. I began Crown of Midnight probably like 3 years ago or something, and I was bored out of my mind for almost the whole book. It was a little bit intriguing, but not very much intriguing for me. The last 100 pages were good, and that was it. That was the only part that I liked of the book, was the last 100 pages. And I finished it, and then I immediately picked up HEIR, and HEIR was so good. HEIR, 4.75 stars. It was a fantastic read. I very much enjoyed it. I can't wait till I get into the other one, the next one. Can't remember the title right now. For me, coming off of fantasy reads and sci-fi reads that are like Dune and Red Rising and Wheel of Time, coming into a young adult fantasy series after that definitely felt like a young adult book to me, and I did not like Crown of Midnight at all. I'd probably give it a 2.5 stars or 3, mostly 2.5 probably. Except the last 100 pages, I give 4 stars. The rest of the book, 2.5. This book is fantastic. I have a whole video about it where I talk about it more in depth that you can go watch. I'll link it down below. It's a 4.75 stars. Really enjoyed this book. Raced through every single moment. There are some stuff that I skipped, but I won't be talking about this book in depth because I already have a reading vlog up. It was a good book. Another book I read that I don't have with me, but I listened to on audiobook when we were driving to Tennessee, is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. And can I say that I don't know how to process what happened in that book? It was okay for like a tragedy book, and everything that happens was kind of crazy. And let me just say, look up the trigger warnings if you want to read it. I do not recommend it to younger readers. There is some spice in this book that we skipped over. Next book I read on my way home from Tennessee is Lovely War by Julia Barry. And can I just say, this is my favorite book of the entire year. That's how much I love this, which is crazy because I thought my favorite book of the entire year was probably going to be like Children of Dune or Morning Star by Pierce Brown, because Morning Star, this book is my favorite of the year. It is a historical fiction romance novel set in World War I. And it follows the love life of like the beginnings of the love lives of these two different couples. There's Hazel and James, and then Aubrey and Colette, and you follow them as they begin their love stories. And it's a really beautiful story that even thinking about is making me tear up. It's a beautiful love story, and it's told really, really fun and in a unique way, because it's Aphrodite narrating. That's out of the blue if you didn't expect it. It's Aphrodite narrating their love story to her husband because she is on trial for a love affair. She has to prove which is stronger, love or war. And can I just say, this was beautifully done, and I can't stop thinking about it, and I absolutely love every single moment of this. I just read it, and I already want to reread it. That is how much I have loved this book. This book is a brilliant 5-star read for me. Also, look up the trigger warnings yourself, because it is a young adult book, but there is some language and there is sensitive topics. It's World War I, so there is some racism and everything that goes on and went on during that time, and just not gory scenes, but there's war scenes, but it's not too gory. And I highly recommend also listening to the audiobook for this one, because it's done so well. They have different voice actors for each character, and it is so brilliant. But the next book that I read in June, A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber, or The Ballad of the Archer and the Fox. Can I just say, I was hesitant going into this read because Stephanie Garber, a lot of people have not liked how she ended this trilogy. But can I say, I loved it. I actually did love this book. It was a very easy read. It was very cute. I liked how she wrapped everything up. A little bit of it was repetitive. I do highly recommend these books. If you really want something magical that feels like you're reading about a Disney book that is for young adults, this is it. Stephanie Garber has amazing prose that is so magical, and you feel like you're in a storybook, without it being super childish. She doesn't explain some things within the magic system, which kind of bugs me. I don't know if she plans on revisiting that, and that's why she kind of just leaves it without doing anything, but it's not my favorite thing that she did that at the end of this book. She left a huge curiosity that I had through this entire trilogy unsaid and unanswered. Next book I read, that I don't have with me, because I actually ended up throwing the book away, not because I hated it, but because it smelled like mold, is The Ministry of Time. I got a hardcover from HEIR, and I don't know, I should have smelt the book before I brought it home, but it smelled moldy. And by the time I actually picked it up to start reading it, I hadn't noticed it smelled like mold because I didn't open it up right away. So I threw that book away and I bought the digital version. And so I read it on my phone. And that was a good book. I really liked everything that was talked about in that book, and just I highlighted so much stuff in that book, just different thought processes. It's a really good book on seizing your own future and being the person who determines that. And it was a very beautiful story, and it was really cool how time travel worked in that book. It's a romance book. It's heartbreaking, but also really fun. I loved the main character, the guy in that book. I literally just had it on the tip of my tongue, and then I lost it. Anyway, I loved his character, and I loved how just charming he was. It was very charming. The whole story was very charming. The beginning does start off slow, and when you're reading it, you're like, man, this takes a lot of brain power because I have no understanding of what is going on at all. And then the last bit of it gets kind of sci-fi. I mean, it's about time travel, so there is going to be some sci-fi elements to it, but like the beginning feels a little bit too smart for you. The middle of it feels a little sci-fi, but not too sci-fi, and you're like kind of like really understanding. You understand what's going on. There's some things that make you go like, oh, that sounds too smart for me, and don't really understand that, but okay. And then the ending is like, whoa, this is a whole sci-fi novel. The little sci-fi bits kind of took me out of it, like a little bit, and I get it. I get that it's about time travel and there's a whole time machine and everything like that, but I feel like it could have been incorporated a little bit more throughout it to make it feel a little bit more natural. Felt more like a gimmick than anything else to the rest of the story until the end. But it is a really beautiful story, and about having the confidence in who you are and your past and where you come from. Couple of spice scenes. There's 2. I skipped over those. For those Christian girlies watching it with me, there's 2 spice scenes. It's not that much. There's a little bit of swearing, not that much. And it's a good time. There is drug use though too. So yeah, just look up the trigger warnings yourself, I guess, but I wanted to let you know for any family or friends watching. So, The Ministry of Time was the last book of June. If I inspired you to read any of them, then my heart is happy. July happened and I read this book. But we will talk about that later when I do my July wrap-up. And if you want to hear more about that book that I just let you guys see, I have a whole YouTube video on it. It's called, the name of the book, The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England, and it will also be linked in the description below. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Let me know what your guys' June reads were, if you got to read any books in June. And also if you have any questions or recommendations of any other books. I'm gonna go read another book.